hear this, you are not alone. This is the resistance. Like where we're talking 5,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago, millions of years ago, where we're finding really interesting stuff in the science realm. Okay? Exactly. The fact that they have literature, that they communicate, and they've left stories behind. They've sealed information in storytelling. That's the power of storytelling. That's why some cultures in the world either A, revere it as the most prominent thing that the human creature has ever done, or B, if you're caught telling a story, we're going to burn you at a stake. It's because the ability to tell a story and to seal truthful information within it is impeccable. Look at what we can do with children and stories and Santa Claus.
True that.
Imagine what we could do to the adult populace with simplistic stories, incorporating the largest theories within them. And if it takes God and if it takes aliens, I don't care. If people, by the end of the process, and that's what this process is approached through many angles. The political science person is going to come in because they want to run for president.
Yeah.
Then they're going to find it, and they're not going to be too impressed with what they find. The economist will come in wanting to be top dog of Wall Street, and maybe, just maybe, that this person grew up in a good environment, a do-gooding kind of person, a person that would have been bitten by a spider and would have became Spider-Man otherwise. Okay, this person comes.
You just saw that movie, didn't you?
The what?
You just watched that movie, didn't you?
Oh yeah, not too long ago.
What, the Amazing Spider-Man 2?
This person is a good person, enters into Wall Street, and next thing you know, look at what they're faced with. They're not going to be too impressed either. All of these people from varying backgrounds can come in, and they all get lost in the same spot.
Yeah.
To the why. It's as to the why it is all happening. The why is huge because everybody thinks it stops at governing body. But you got to remember that back in the day it was religious wars. It wasn't continental or country wars. We are so spoiled, dude. It's just a bunch of countries fighting each other. But wait until it turns into a religious war, and it has in certain parts of this world. And that's what people don't want to hear. When I start talking religious jihad and religious wars, they don't want to hear that. That's some extremism to the teeth. That doesn't happen, and if it does, it shouldn't happen, and it can go on and on and on, and that's not a joke. But what is also not a joke is that there's real blood on real streets in real parts of the world. So if we don't look into what the religious war and the religious jihad aspect of this is, then we may never get the truth.
Well, what was 9/11 quote supposed to be about? They didn't like our freedom. They didn't like our freedom. They didn't like our religious beliefs.
Cover up in human history without going into all of the huge conspiracy theories that are just astronomical, because there's huge, and I call them conspiracy theories, rightfully so, not as a disclaimer, but a theory is merely something that must be proven or disproven. We have the information, we've done the science, we've done the math, we have all of the schematics put together, and our brain and our logic says this is so. All right, some bitch, prove it. Let's put it together and let's get it done. So they're all conspiracy theories, and they won't open up the doors to prove or disprove. You'll notice this a lot. Some of the big head honchos like Alex Jones and the people like him that are at the top of their game, right? That they have the leaks at their fingertips, and they are looking at this information and go, well, how do I tell these people this information? How do I go about? Who are they going to listen to? Me and you have spoken about it many times in the past. The alien disclosure, if there was such a thing, and if it is real, and if it's not real, who cares? But if it is real, in the realm of that it is real, who are we going to listen to? Is it going to be Stephen Harper, my great Canadian leader? Is it going to be Obama, your great American leader? Is it going to be Putin, the great Russian? Who says aliens exist and everybody believes? Is that Jesus himself could come back and say that aliens exist, and there's still a great part of the world that wouldn't give a fuck if Jesus himself said it, because they don't care, because they don't believe Jesus to be the savior of the world.
Exactly.
the religious connotations of this is astronomical, right? When I hate going through our revolutionary blogs, we have many of them, where you come in and it's
I know, I've seen them.
Islam this or anti-this. Oh my goodness, it blows my mind, because there's a little hymn that I always put into the resistance, really just to kind of catch people off guard. It's a hymn, it's a children's hymn. It's called A is for Allah. Feel free to throw it in as a interlude throughout this conversation so people can hear it. Okay, but it goes from the very beginning of Muhammad, which is the leader and the writer of the Quran and things of this nature, all the way down to Adam, which is Adam and Eve. Now, I sat here one day and I looked into this, and I said, well, if this is what they believe in, then why are good Christian people killing them? So that became another question.
Because they don't know.
I'm very broad spectruming this. Everybody is encouraged and welcome to look into what I'm figuring out here at the deeper level and meanings of what it is. But in essence,
yeah, they should. And
they should.
It's like what you just said. You're looking at you're looking at it from a broad spectrum. Whereas people, whether they're Christian, Muslim, whatever, or as you said, the purple fucking spaghetti monster, regardless of what they fucking worship or believe, they are so fucking narrow-minded, they don't think outside the box. They think in old world terms that the world is still flat and that the sun revolves around us.
Exactly.
You know,
they
don't expand their minds.
There's a lot of things that are still lost. So, and what we need to remember is that back in the day, the king did not move without the advice of the priest, of the people who communed with God. And this is not me making it up. This is historical fact.
Yeah,
this is what I use to show people that the religious connotation of these arguments is immense. It's not just, oh, I'm a good Catholic, or oh, I'm a good Mormon, or oh, no. It goes deeper than that. Where do these religions put their money? It's a tax-free organization. Where does the money go? That's a big one. You know, we look into AIPAC, which is a huge Israeli lobbyist that I have Jews all over the world protesting against.
Yeah.
That's not relevant to people. And we need to understand the relevance. And how do we understand the relevance as to why a bunch of Jews all over the world are protesting the Jewish lobby? That's important, because that tells me that within not the Jewish construct, sorry, the faith-based structure that the Hebrew people want to believe, that there is a divide, a very significant divide, and we have to look into that divide. People don't want to look into it. They're like, oh, I've heard, and I've said some very horrendous things just about the Hebrew subject when I realized the divide. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is where people get off saying kill the Jews. I get it now. And then I looked at it and I found the same divide in Islam. And I was like, oh my God, this is where, and then you know what happened? I found the same divide in Christianity.
Yeah, 42,000 times.
And that's why most of our Christian holidays are labeled on top of pagan holidays and things of this nature. We did it to ourselves too.
Yeah, we created 42,000 interpretations and understandings of the same fucking book, which in retrospect was only supposed to be one God, one religion, blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, you've got 42,000 different Christian religions fighting amongst themselves, saying, I'm right, you're wrong. And, you know, all the religions of the world do it. They fight with each other. They fight with themselves. You know, I'm surprised they're not sitting there punching themselves in the face, saying the left arm is right and the right arm is wrong. It's fucking ridiculous. And what's really sad, and I'm going to go backtrack a little bit in what you were saying about the financial aspects of the church. They don't pay taxes. Where the fuck does the money go? You know, the churches, they spend all this money on what? We're supposed
to buildings, we see temples of varying faith, we see the material structure, but if you speak to any contractor, they know what it costs to build these things. Like, for instance, a home. People will buy homes for $150,000, $250,000, $500,000. And those homes to build are $80,000, $120,000. To build is substantially cheaper.
Exactly.
So it's intriguing.
Yeah,
very intriguing.
Yeah, and they're not, and like, let's take the Mormon Church, for example. They're putting up temples all over the place. They're building meeting houses and all that, funding missionary work. Yeah. That doesn't take a lot of money. And with 15 plus million members all paying 10% of their gross income, where is all the extra money going? They say that we're in the latter days, the end of days. This is it. This is the times depicted in Revelations. Why isn't that money going towards defending the Christian people against the onslaught that is coming from the satanic rule?